You're listening to the one and only podcast by a blind wrestling fan.
Wrestling in the dark!
Hey up guys, welcome back to WITD. I've been gone for a while, don't know if you've noticed, but since SummerSlam is the biggest party of the summer, what better time for a huge, groundbreaking, earth-shattering return than right now with my SummerSlam 2020 predictions. For more on why I was gone for a little bit, stick around to the end of the video where I'll talk about it, but for now let's dive in with the predictions. Well, I should probably start by saying that my absence from this channel hasn't just been from this channel, it's been from wrestling in general, and I've not really been keeping up with what's been going on other than through various podcasts. But I feel like this is a good point to jump back on. It's halfway through the year, it's the second biggest show of the year, and so I just feel like this is a good time to try and ease myself back into the wrestling landscape. So let's start off by talking about Seth Rollins taking on Dominik Mysterio in a street fight. This one has been something that I have actually been keeping up with, that I've actually enjoyed the storyline of. I've not watched it, but at the same time hearing about it has been one of the things that's actually kept me at least a little bit interested in wrestling. What do I think is going to happen? This one is a hard one. At least I think that Dominik will come out with the win. I don't think that it's going to be the cleanest win. I think that there's going to be some wiggle room there for Seth Rollins to complain about, but this could easily end up with Seth getting that win, using Murphy to beat Dominik down, using those underhanded tactics, but I feel like it would be a really cool story to get Dominik into things, give him that win over Seth, and then have Seth be on the warpath, make him even worse than he's been over the last couple of months. Like I said, the story that's been going on, what with Ray's eye being taken out, which was just, well, you know, one of those things, quite a personal thing. Not actually, it really didn't bother me, but I still thought it was a fairly interesting thing. I find this brutal messiah Seth Rollins really interesting, probably the most interesting that I've found him in a good few years actually. And Dominik Mysterio, it's going to be interesting to get my introduction to him on this grand stage of SummerSlam. It's going to be really interesting because last time I watched it was still in the Performance Centre. I was only really watching NXT, so this is really my first just throwing myself back in at the deep end, just getting back into it, and this should be an interesting match, it really should. But yeah, I think that Dominik will end up coming out on top of this one, but I don't think that it's going to be the squeaky clean win that people think it might be. I think that it would be a really good thing to do. You've got the dynamic there of Seth being able to say, you didn't beat me legitimately, you did this to win, and maybe Ray being a little bit disappointed in Dominik for using not the cleanest tactics. So yeah, if it was me, I'd give Dominik the win here. I feel like WWE will probably give Seth the win, but if it was me, I'd give Dominik the win, so that's what I'm going with. Dominik to defeat Seth Rollins. Talk about a match that I have no idea about. It's Apollo Crews versus MVP for the United States Championship, I believe. I might be wrong on that. It could be the Intercontinental one for all I know. Really haven't been keeping up. But I would probably go with MVP here. I've heard some really good things about the Hurt Business. It's always good to see Shelton Benjamin getting some time to shine, because I never really got to see him in his original run. I only started watching in 2012, for anyone that isn't familiar with that story. But I do think that it would be good to give MVP that title, give Apollo something to chase, maybe have something to do with Cedric Alexander in there, because from what I've been hearing, there's a little bit of tension going on there, and I feel like that's a good way to progress the story. Again, I'm sort of talking out of my arse here because I have absolutely no idea what is going to happen, and it's just going to be interesting to ease back in. This should be a fairly interesting match. Again, MVP, I've never really seen anything by him. The promos that I've seen him cut on various YouTube videos and stuff like that has been pretty interesting. It's really good to see Apollo Crews getting a bit of time to shine because, you know, he didn't before, and it's just going to be a really interesting match to watch. So I'd probably give MVP the win here, and I feel like that's what I'm going to lay my prediction on. We're getting some tag team championship action between the Street Profits and the team of Andrade and Angel Garza, and I feel like this is a pretty easy choice. With Montez Ford getting poisoned by Zelina Vega, I feel like Ford needs a bit of revenge, and so I feel like they're just going to give the faces a nice easy win here, even though I'd probably prefer to see Andrade and Garza win. I'm not even that big of a fan of Andrade, but I really like Garza, and I wish that he could just have all the gold and just be a massive star that he deserves to be and could be. But I do feel like they're just going to use this as the opportunity to give the faces a nice easy win, and I can't argue with them because when a guy gets poisoned, he deserves to have a bit of payback. Payback's the next pay-per-view, but who cares? Let him have his revenge now. Well, here's a feud that I'm absolutely shocked is still going on. It's Sonia Deville and Mandy Rose. This has been going on since WrestleMania now, slightly before if I remember correctly, and I didn't think that it'd be still going on now. Not that I have a problem with it, but I haven't really been keeping up with the minutiae of this storyline. However, the gimmick is interesting. I've never seen a hair versus hair match before, so God knows how this is going to go. But I do feel like Mandy Rose will come out with the win here. I can't see them wanting to make Mandy Rose bald, and I feel like Sonya Deville, as a tough badass, could pull that look off a little bit more, and it gives Mandy a little bit of retribution. Is she part of that faction? Probably not. Yeah, I feel like it would definitely suit Deville more to have her head shaved, to be humiliated, to be made to look like this badass that, you know, can have a shaved head or some sort of mohawk or something like that. I don't know what they'll do, but I really do think that she would probably suit that. Not that I'd even know, it's not like I'm going to be able to see it, but from how I imagine Sonya Deville, I imagine that she could probably pull off that short hair look, and it's, like I say, it's a bit of retribution for Mandy Rose, and I feel like it could kick Sonya into an even more vicious character, having to suffer that humiliation at the hands of Mandy Rose, who she just feels is unworthy and inferior. Yeah, that's definitely what I think is going to happen. So yeah, Mandy Rose to defeat Sonya Deville. The Fiend, Bray Wyatt versus the monster among men, Braun Strowman for the Universal Championship, is probably the match that I'm least interested in. I don't know why, I just really don't care. I've not really been a fan of the Fiend thing before I stopped watching, and then his momentum just stopped, and then there was the Swamp match that I was gonna try and watch, and then I just didn't have the interest to do so. I do think it's interesting that he kidnapped Alexa, and that is going to be the crucial point of this match, I think, because I think Alexa is some sort of sleeper agent. I think she's been hypnotised and just waiting to screw Braun, and I just think that Braun will lose here. The Fiend can pick up the title again, get some momentum back, because the Fiend as a character, as an idea, is really, really interesting. It's just that they haven't necessarily done it as good as they could have. I'm not going to say that they did it badly, because honestly I don't really have the right to an opinion with not having watched over the last couple of months, but I do think that having Alexa turn on Braun would be pretty cool. She goes heel, you can have a little bit of a tension between Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss, that'd be pretty cool, and then Nikki can go off and have a bit of a singles run and maybe take on whoever comes out with the Women's Championship, and like I say, it gets the title back to Braun. So yeah, the Fiend to come out on top with this one. Right, so double champion means double duty, and Asuka is set to take on Bayley and then Sasha later on in the night. I definitely think she's going over Bayley, because obviously this is not about Asuka, it's to further the story between Sasha and Bayley, and how else are they going to make the tension other than having Asuka beat Bayley and then having Sasha beat Asuka, which is what I think will happen there. I just I just think that that's the way to go. Bayley can get a little bit jealous, or Sasha can get a little bit egotistical, or both, and that can lead to their feud that's been coming for years and years and years and forever. Oh my god, can you just do it already? I feel like people have been talking about the Bayley-Sasha feud for forever, and I just feel like they need to just do it now or never do it, because I'm sick of the circling around it. And I think that Asuka beating Bayley is definitely a lock, and then maybe having Bayley and Sasha beat Asuka down after the match, and having Asuka go into Sasha's match a bit injured, a bit worn down, and having Sasha pick up the win there is probably what I would do. What they're gonna do, I have no bloody idea, because it's WWE and they're just so unpredictable, but predictable at the same time. Usually you can see what's coming, and I might be able to if I had watched, the build to this, but just coming in with fresh eyes, I feel like that's the way to go. Bayley loses, Sasha wins, Asuka walks away having beaten one of them but not the other, and she can rub it in and just help build the tension there. So yeah, and that will eventually probably lead to Asuka getting a tag team partner and picking up the tag team championships, taking that away from Sasha and Bayley, just to put the final nail in their friendship. Please just do this feud already. If you told me a couple of months ago that Randy Orton would be taking on Drew McIntyre for the WWE title in the probably main event of SummerSlam, and that I'd want Randy Orton to win, I'd have told you to fuck right off, because you are obviously deluded. But now, somehow, whilst keeping up with the storyline through, like I said, various podcasts, like the A Kenny for Your Thoughts podcast, hello Kenny, you suck if you're listening to this. Anyway, through keeping up with the storyline, it's one of the things that's actually sort of reeled me back in, because when Randy Orton's on the ball, when he's motivated, when he's intrigued by a storyline, he's so damn good, and the stuff that I've heard that he's been doing has been really interesting, and I think being this Ledgend Killer Reborn gimmick sort of thing, taking out everyone, punting Ric Flair, punting HBK, and taking out Edge and all that sort of stuff, I feel like he's on a roll, and I really do feel like he should pick up that title so that Drew can chase him, they can have a rematch, it doesn't have to end there, and I can't believe I'm saying this, I really can't. I am not a huge Randy Orton fan just because of how inconsistent he can be, because when he's good he's really good, and when he's bad he's really bad, but he seems to be on the ball at the minute, he seems to be motivated and interested, and the stuff that he's doing has been really interested, and I feel like with what's going on, I feel like Randy getting the win here is the right choice, and just let him go off and punt loads more people over the next few months, and maybe give Drew back the win during either SummerSlam is this pay-per-view, during Survivor Series, or maybe Hell in a Cell, because I could see these two having a really good Hell in a Cell match. It's great that Drew is champion, and to be honest, it's a little bit disappointing that he has been champion during this sort of uninteresting phase that I've had, where my interest in wrestling has been so low. But like I said, this storyline is one of the things that's been reeling me back in, and as much as it's going to suck that I didn't get to see Drew as champion, it will be cool seeing him all fired up and pissed off at Randy chasing that title. So yeah, Randy picking up the win here seems like the best option, and I just absolutely can't believe that I'm saying that. Well, this has been an interesting and somewhat confusing exercise. It feels a bit weird to talk about and predict matches that I really have no idea about. It feels kind of like I'm talking out of my arse, but at the same time, I really wanted to do a SummerSlam review. I really wanted to jump back on the wrestling train, and it feels like a good time, so I thought I'd do this to shake off the podcast rust. It's been a weird couple of months. This year really beat me up and really depleted my interest in wrestling, what with just multiple things. We had the cinematic matches that had no commentary, Nigel getting taken off NXT, and anyone who's listened to this podcast for any amount of time will know that Nigel is my absolute favourite commentator. He's one of the reasons that I realised that I could still watch and enjoy wrestling, so him being gone from the NXT product was a huge blow and definitely a big nail in the coffin. And then we had the speaking out movement, which, just, do I really need to explain myself with that? And then we had Adam Cole losing the titles to Keith Lee, and as someone who's not a massive fan of Keith, that was a little bit disappointing. I was a little bit annoyed that he had both the titles, but then, my annoyance was short-lived because he gave that up quickly. So there was just multiple things, including NXT going up a week late on the network in the UK these days because BT Sport has the right to show it first. So every time I thought about getting back into this, it just seemed like there was a reason not to, and to be honest, I've been my own worst enemy, what with my lack of motivation, my lack of interest in wrestling in general, and just sort of just getting in my own way. But I really wanted to jump back in, and there's been a lot of people telling me to do this again, especially the people in the AKFYT Twitter group. Kenny, again, if you're listening, you suck. Everyone else in that group, I love you, and you've definitely helped reel me back into this. So yeah, thank you for that. If you're new to the channel, like and subscribe, and then you'll never miss another episode of WITD. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Click that like button to let me know that you've missed me. For now, I'm off, and you should have a good one.